John Spytek, the GM of the Raiders, spoke yesterday at the news conference announcing the extension of Crosby and talked about what went behind the decision.
I think Coach and I talked a lot about setting the tone for this new era of Raiders football, and I can't think of a better person to sit up here with and reward for what he's done, but with an expectation of what's coming. And we want to grow this to a place that people want to be. And when people like Maxx, I mean, it's no secret, it hasn't been sunshine and roses around here forever, but when he makes a commitment to the Raiders like this, and he stands for everything Coach and I and this new staff and everybody talks about, he signs up for it. I think that speaks volumes, and I hope it's noticed in our locker room. I hope it's noticed around the league, and our expectation is, we want people to want to be here. We want people, once they get here, to want to stay here, and so to us it just made a lot of sense to get it done.
So message sent. To Ben Johnson and Matthew Stafford. We may have missed out on you.
I still kind of want to revisit the Zach Bond. Like, we can't claim Zach. We don't have him. Y'all got him?
It's kind of our Super Bowl, if you think about it.
Zach Bond is yours? Y'all got him.
Yeah.
Up top with Zach Bond.
I mean, listen, we can negotiate. We're willing to negotiate that, but,
Dang, that's crazy. Y'all just want to take everything, huh? You can't be too good, huh?
That's what it is.
Dang. Maxx Crosby clearly will not claim y'all. He's going up top with me. And that's why he got paid, because he brings that soul brother to the table, bro. Okay. When he gets out there on the field, he be out there doing it like a straight homie, like the homie.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's the
just so y'all know. Up top for us.
Okay.
We won.
I would go as far as saying that Maxx Crosby, if you just watch the tape and look at his effort, I don't know that there's anyone who plays the way he does every single snap. Like, when I think about Tom Brady along with John Spytek and everyone else who's along with it, and Pete Carroll, that is, like, he is the glowing example of when you turn on the tape and you watch him play, it's all out effort. Now, he's talented and he's obviously continued to improve over the course of his career, but there's elements when you watch him, you just say, like, that's how I want every one of my players playing. And I think it's powerful when you pay a guy like that, because yes, he's one of the best players off the edge in the NFL, but it's also the example that he sets. And he's being rewarded for that. And I think it sends a message to the rest of the guys. Like, you put yourself on tape like he does, you're going to get paid like that too at some point. So big offseason for Maxx Crosby, because there was a thought. Remember last year, like, weren't people saying he was frustrated, maybe didn't want to be there anymore?
Yeah, he wanted to go. He was teetering on the fence of if he wanted to stay or not.
There was some stuff in the last couple of weeks that, would he be on the block?
Yeah.
Like, would they start
what
over?
Block?
I mean, the trade block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because we do claim him. We do claim him. So, I mean, it could be the block that you're thinking of, Q. He might be out on he might be on the block out on the strip tonight. Right now. While we're in here. Congrats. All I know is this. You're right about the effort, and he's an effort guy, and he does play the game the way that you want him to play, or the way you want him to play it. He also is a student of the game. I mean, if you look at, some of the chronicles on him and how he's gotten as good as he's has been able to become, it's a lot of attention to detail. And that's something that I teach to my kids that I mentor, like the details. That's how you become great, is having the mindset but paying attention to the details along with that mindset. And Maxx Crosby has been one of those guys. You see it in his game, like the way that he is able to defeat blockers and the way that he's able to impact the games. A lot of it comes from his attention to detail, his fundamental skills connected with his studying of the game. And that's something that you do want your culture to be. And that is someone you want to reward. And that is a tone that you want to set. And listen, we've always known that Pete Carroll has been that type of guy, right? If you ask anybody who has played for Pete Carroll, I mean, outside of maybe the Legion of Boom at the end, maybe, I don't know. But for the most part, they all love him. Going all the way back to USC, the way he handles things with the players and the mentality that he brings to the table and the culture that he's been able to build in the places that he's gone, there's no surprise why he has the type of success that he had at the college level and at the pro level. I'm just interested to see. Now, this is a great move for him, to get the best player on the team signed and happy. He's going to be motivated. That's a great start, but I'm just really interested to see what this iteration, what this version of Pete Carroll will be, assuming that, he's going to handle things maybe a tad bit differently. He's a little older. Maybe he's learned a few things that he wants to try new. I'm interested to see what that approach is, but right now, that 100% was a bullseye with the shot that they took on this particular situation.
I mean, I'd like to see what their plan is at quarterback. Feels like an important.
It's a big one. That's a big move
at some point.
It's a big move, but they're kind of is it a tad bit of a compromised situation? Because they don't have, to me, what are they in the draft? What pick are they?
6.
I doubt there's going to be a really good quarterback in the draft if they're not aggressive and trying to move up. That's one. If they don't move up and they don't get one in the draft, which, again, we said this is, I think, I defer this, but I think we've said this is a three QB draft, so 3 of them might be gone by the time the Raiders go. Who do you get? What if you bring in Russell Wilson? Do you fall under intense scrutiny? If you trade for Kirk Cousins, what does that look like? Do you fall into intense scrutiny? Do you bring in Sam Darnold? I don't feel like any guy you're going to go out there and get is a safe bet. Not even Aaron Rodgers. I just feel like there's not a safe bet at the quarterback's position. So with that being in the air, it not being a surefire, this is the guy you got to get now that Stafford is gone. What do you do? What do you do? Is there a right answer for that position group this year?
I think if you go back to Pete Carroll and his time with the Seattle Seahawks and the job he did working with John Schneider, I mean, they were hand in hand, and it seemed like those two had a really good feel for what they were each looking for, which is important. I say this all the time this time of year. Your GM and your head coach have to be working in unison to understand what the coaching staff is looking for out of a player for technique, character, attitude, what they want to coach, and how that coach is trying to put together the team. Right? They take into account different personalities and all that. So, they have to be working hand in hand. Well, Spidek now with Pete Carroll, but also Tom Brady playing a much more active role. That was one of the things about the Seattle Seahawks is you got the sense that, yes, they had some big money, big name owners, but also at the same time, the owners didn't meddle in a lot of what they were doing and how they were constructing that team. It doesn't appear like Mark Davis is, but it does appear that to a degree, Tom Brady does. So I'm curious to the relationship that Tom Brady has with Pete Carroll and a lot of decisions that they make, because the quarterback position specifically is going to be one where, he hasn't been on this side of things. He was the GOAT. So everyone was dying to have a guy like him. And now he's on the other side where you have to realize that very similar to every single coach that was a Bill Belichick disciple, and even Bill Belichick after Tom Brady, that life with Tom Brady as your quarterback is very different than life with every other quarterback. Now, there's other exceptions to that. There's Patrick Mahomes, there's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You go down the list, Joe Burrow. There's those other franchise quarterbacks. But those guys aren't going to be able to hit the free agent market. They're not getting to you. If you can't get them in the draft, as you're pointing out, you're usually never able to find that guy unless you're a unicorn like Tom Brady and they find you in the 6th round. So we can say, well, it's a 3-quarterback draft. Maybe there's, that Tom Brady waiting there. Who knows if Tom's watching film and looking at these guys saying, this is a guy I really like. Maybe he's a 3rd, 4th round projection, or maybe that's where they're going to take him.
Can I ask you this? Can I jump in there and ask you this?
Yeah.
How many times do you think if a coach or an evaluator doesn't see what you're talking about, do they get lost? Is that a thing? You get lost. Like, this could have been a player that ended up being Tom Brady, but he's sitting at home, building a family and doing finance or doing construction or something to that effect. Like, how often do you think that happens, that you just don't see a Tom Brady? Because Tom, and he was in my draft. We saw it. The people who played against him, we saw it. So, if Belichick and those guys don't see him, I mean, it never happens. It never was.
Well, yeah, and that's why I would actually push back and say, like, what do you see? When you're saying you saw it, like, it wasn't like he had an illustrious college career.
Right, but when we played against him, the things he was doing, like, we saw it. The dude was pretty – he did some pretty phenomenal things in some pretty big moments of games is what I'd say. He's always been that guy that came up with the big plays and came up with the timely moments that, got them through. We saw it. Like, I had to see it firsthand. We had them by, 10 points, I believe, with like 8 minutes left in the game, something to that effect. Dude marched them down, boom, boom, Marcus Knight over the middle, boom, boom, Marcus Knight over the middle, and they beat us. And our defense was pretty sick that year. Like, we've seen him flash moments of greatness. But back to my point.
Because my quick answer is no, not really. Because most of those guys are going to take the opportunity to at least put their name in there, put their name out there. I mean, Kirk Cousins was a guy that, I remember a quarterback coach telling me when he had sat in on the interview with him, he was going to go to med school. Like, that was like, if I don't go play quarterback, like, I want to go to become a doctor. Mm-hmm. And there's some guys who are like kind of turned off by that because we always say at this time of year, you want guys who want football only in their life. Like, they don't want anything else. And I think that's part of the reason why people have taken issue with Shedeur Sanders, because they feel like maybe it's not all about ball, it's about something else, or at least that's been kind of the perspective maybe out there. So I think for Tom Brady, it wasn't so much that, like, you guys saw other people didn't. They did. He got drafted. He just got drafted in a spot that was later because of, his tools and fundamentals at that point and what he was working with. It wasn't Josh Allen's arm. It wasn't Lamar Jackson's athleticism, right? Like, all those things. It wasn't, Patrick Mahomes' arm. And so those things didn't, really show out.
How do you go from being that, what you're saying, to the greatest to ever play it? Like, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have the most of anything.
I know. I think it's the right situation and circumstance. And I think it's also combined with that, the right coach is part of that. The right development is part of that. I mean, there's no doubt he had talent and ability. He got drafted in the NFL. That's not saying he didn't. But go back to Michigan and ask them why they kept going back and forth between him and Drew Henson.
Yeah, he was
clearly Michigan thought Drew Henson was just as talented.
Well, he was the starter. He was the starter. So that was it's a curious question in terms of, like, all right, a lot of Hall of Famers, if you look at them, they're undrafted. You know what I mean? Like, you look at guys that have had really successful careers, they're like not high draft picks. And I just wonder, like, how does that work? How do you go from you're in a draft where guys are rated so highly and go so high in the draft, and you don't end up they don't even come close?
All right, let's play a game. How many Hall of Famers do you actually think are undrafted? In the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, this is easy.
What do you got, Jonas?
3.5.
It's more than 3.5. I'm not sure how you got a half there.
How many Hall of Famers are there? Like 400?
278 Hall of Famers. 278.
Like 10?
There's actually 22. It's 22. But that represents not even 8%.
So. 22 is a lot to me.
I mean, isn't it
for the Hall of Fame? 22 is a lot. I mean, How many of those? I would probably be a deeper dive.
But if it's a guy who didn't have the illustrious college career but came to the NFL and had a good quality career, isn't that kind of evident to, well, he was in a great situation, something that was going to work with him that was more conducive to developing his talent more so than maybe he had in college? Because like Arian Foster had a good NFL career. He didn't start. Like he wasn't a starter at Tennessee.
He eventually did. We played against him. Like he had a year where he did. But to your point, like he was on the practice squad for like 3 years.
Like didn't Derrick Henry? I don't know how much Derrick Henry played early, and especially
not
with
early.
Tennessee.
Because they had a whole bunch of guys though.
By the way, 14 of the this is what I'm reading at least online. Of the 88 first overall picks in the NFL draft have been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So not first round picks, just the first overall pick.
14 which is out of 88?
88, which is obviously a higher percentage.
How about that?
Yeah, but out of 88, I mean, if you think about it, it's not a lot.
That's higher than 8%.
It's not a lot.
16%.
Yeah, it's actually double that.
If you're the number
so
one
there's been more first overall picks that have made the Hall of Fame than guys in totality that have been undrafted.
Well,
yeah.
Hey,
I think 22 for being undrafted is way different. If you go number one, I'm thinking you should go to the Hall of Fame. The percentage should be high. You're considered to be the best of the best out of all of them.
Yeah, but isn't it? You're also getting drafted more than likely to a bag of crap.
S team. Yeah.
The interesting thing is that the league is actually comprised of about 1/3 of undrafted free agents. That's actually, if you made up like the entire league in the roster, it's about 30%. So yeah, I guess less than 8% of 30%. I mean, you have to look at the numbers, but I mean, it doesn't take anything away from it. It's just saying, typically, there's a battle either way. Like the one thing about being undrafted, you have an advantage is you might find yourself in a better situation.
Go to a better team. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Whereas if you're the first overall pick or first round pick, you can go to a really bad team and you have to build that up.
You got way less run. You have no runway as a free agent. That's the only thing. You got to make it through. Like that's like that, trying to go fertilize the egg. Like you fighting a losing battle. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, it's not going to be easy to get on a roster if you're undrafted.
Yeah.
Like, how many positions, I know we're late, but how many position groupings are really, like, how many open spots on a roster in the NFL do you have going into any given season? Like, really, do you have? It's not going to be many.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not going to be many.
I do know this. Zach Martin just retired, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
So
that's correct. He's a domer too. I don't know if you guys
what draft pick was he?
First round.
Was it 16?
I would expect that if you go number one or if you go in the first round, that you're supposed to have your trajectory should be to be a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.